Hello, everybody. First and foremost, welcome back. I have another episode. The gentleman I have right now actually got introduced to me through somebody else who we have brought on, who's been a top seller on our mortgage protection leads. And he was like, "Hey, man, I want to give you guys this guy's number. He's a dog. He's a beast. He knows a lot of agents, but he also is a top producer in his direct company." And we got connected, man. It was like instant. He was like, "Hey, man, set me up." And I don't hear from him unless he's making sales. So he's pretty laid back. But none other than two, man. Thank you for hopping on the call today.
Hey, no problem, man. I've been looking forward to this. Actually, it's funny. I saw a couple of you guys interview style. You interviewing a couple of agents before. I was like, man, I think one day I'll hope to hop on the interview with Trey, and I guess today's the day, right?
Yeah, hey, you earned it. You earned it, bro. So before we hop in and get into like the training and stuff, I just want the people to know, man, tell me a little bit about like, take me back. Like, how did you get into the life insurance space, just in general?
It's funny because then they like 999% of people, like I'm sure like most people did not say, hey, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be a life insurance agent, right? That's like most people, right?
Right.
So for me, I'm like the exact same way. I was actually supposed to go to the medical field. Like I got my degree back in 2013 from Fresno State. I got in pre-physical therapy, and it's funny because I remember I was supposed to go to grad school, get my doctorate degree and all that good stuff, but what happened was funny because I got recruited into the industry, and 3 months into it, I realized, hey, this is my calling, you know,
Mhm.
because it's funny how like where life takes you. Because I think a lot of times, especially if you're a college student, if you're young, you're listening to this, and someone's telling you, hey, go to school, get a good job, or go find what you want to do at school. The reality is basically is you got to take your time to figure out what you really want to do. Like find out your passion, find out what you enjoy doing. And I realized that physical therapy was something I liked, but because I grew up playing sports all my life, Trey, I'm sure
Yeah.
you can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the day I was like, it wasn't something I could see myself waking up to and saying, I want to be able to do this. Like I'm excited for this. Whereas life insurance, and the thing about life insurance is a lot of people just think, oh man, it's just you're just selling insurance. It's way more than that, right? It's a way deeper rabbit hole than that. And the
Right.
cool part about this is basically is like what in this industry, there's so much you learn, there's so much you do, but also at the exact same time, at the amount of people you get to serve and the amount of money you get to make is tremendous, man. So if you guys are out there considering like, if insurance is a thing you want to do, like give it a shot, guys. Like at the end of the day, it's a low entry barrier point, but you have
Yeah.
the opportunity to change not just your life, but 100 other people's life as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for sharing, man. I want you to touch base. People don't know when you first started working leads. So
Mhm.
just for background for everybody that understands, like company that he works with, everybody doesn't do leads, which is cool.
Mhm.
And I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of, we're growing, we're scaling, and we're running ads, we're getting more people. And we get people from tons of different companies. Some do a lot of leads, some do none, some do warm market. But can you, and I'm very interested to know, can you talk a little bit about like when you first started working leads, just in general, not us, but like, can you walk us through those first 30 days? Like, was it hard? Was it difficult? Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the obstacles and explaining, newer agents like, hey, man, I've never ran leads. What do you say to them? And what was your first 30 days like?
This is the funniest thing in the world because like as you mentioned, I came from doing like what we call a warm market, right? Basically, it's like friends and family getting referral. Basically, it's very effective to an extent, right? There's a cap
Mhm.
limit because at the end of the day, like let me ask you, like think about this, right? How many family members can you sell life insurance to, right? Or help with financial planning to, right? And then how many other people do you think they could refer you to, right? It's a slower speed of growing effectively. Does that make sense? Right?
Yep.
It's again, it's very effective, but then day it's very slow because I think even at my previous practice company, after a couple of years, I was actually able to make six figures a year. But it took a while to ramp up to that, right? Whereas leads, guys, if you get into the leads game, like literally like your first year, 2 years in a business, you could literally be making six figures like pretty fast. Like I know people, I've talked to a lot of people. There's a lot of new people who never done insurance sales before. And coming into this industry, they're making like 10, 20, $30,000 their first 2 months in the business. Right. And it all comes down to basically having a good lead source. And the first time I did leads, guys, I was horrible. Just to let you guys know, okay? So
Yeah. Be honest, man. We love it. We
yeah.
love it.
And so I mean, I'm like, I'm like, man, I know how to sell. I know how to, influence people. I mean, I made six figures in the past before. And so when I first bought my first lead pack, right? And like a lot of people, I call people asking, "Hey, how's your day going?" I'm trying to be relatable, like, which is, I mean, that's what we've been taught our life to do. But when it comes to lead, it's almost a different type of interaction you gotta have, right? There's like just like baseball has this rule, basketball has this rule, leads has a rule compared to basically working in warm market and like friends and family and whatnot. Okay. And so I came with the exact same mindset I had from warm market and got chew out. Right. And so I didn't have any success. I think literally it wasn't until like I bought two lead packs. Okay, guys. I bought a fresh lead pack, and this was not from Lead Lab. This is from Trey. It was basically from another source, right? I bought an aged lead pack and I bought a fresh lead pack. I tried a fresh one first, didn't get any sales. Tried an aged one afterwards, didn't get any sales. And then I remember it was like literally yesterday. I think it was probably like around November, and I remember it was like a holiday. Okay, it was like a holiday. It was a Monday. I think it was Veterans Day or something like that. And and I was like, you know what? I got nothing going on, right? Me and my wife and the kids, we didn't go do anything else that weekend. I think there's maybe a football game on TV. I was like, let me call these leads, okay? So I did $3, okay? First one, didn't pick up. Second one, not interested, already got life insurance. Try to turn that around. He just basically hung up on me. Third person, she said, oh, hey, I already got life insurance. I'm like, okay, hey, that's no big deal. I mean, but are you open to go ahead and get something to see if it's a little bit better than what you currently have? And she said, yes. Okay. And ended up helping her with a small little policy. It was like a $25 month policy, a 10-year term policy. Right. So,
Right.
yeah, I literally, I probably made like maybe, I don't know, like $200 on that little deal. But that was the spark I needed. Because at that point I knew, hey man, this stuff works, right? It just comes out. I gotta work it, and I gotta basically get good at it. I gotta get more people into my lead flow, right? So I guess to
Mhm.
say my first 30 days was horrible. Okay, my first 60 days I didn't do anything with it. It wasn't until probably like my 90th day I actually try it, or not try, but basically I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just give it one more shot to see where this lead to. And again, that was from old leads. That was leads that were probably like maybe 6, 7 months old. Whereas
Mm.
basically, if I would have got fresher leads and just kept the momentum of buying leads and so forth, I probably got a lot faster result faster. Okay.
Right.
So hopefully to answer your question right there, man.
Yeah, no, it does. And it gives a lot of clarity too, because I think that people had this misconception that, oh, well, I did friends and family, so let me just get the freshest leads in the world and
Hmm.
I'm just going to be successful. And we always tell people when they start, it's like, if you've come from that, I want you to buy older leads to get your teeth kicked in and go
Hmm.
through what you just said and at least know, like, I didn't spend, $1,000. I spent a few $100. Okay, but I use it to learn. Right. And
Yeah.
that's really what you explained, I think is important. Can you walk through what was the transition for you? Now I'm interested to know. Like, you made that sale. What did the next like 60 to 90 days look like? Did you reinvest immediately? Did you say, okay, now I can start getting it? Or how did you start gaining momentum to where you were just, making sales more consistently? What that looked like?
Yeah. And that's the funny part. Okay. So like this is learning lesson, right? So again, from what we done, right, in the past is we always done fully underwritten policy, right? The best
Mhm.
pricings out there and so forth. And that again, that's a different mindset when it comes to lead. Okay. They say lead is speed, right? You gotta call that lead as soon as possible. But also basically speed issue is also important. Okay.
Mm.
Because a lot of people, if you do a fully underwritten policy with a lead, the chance of you having success with it, again, depending on the lead type, but just general life insurance, you may not have that much of a success. Okay. I'm talking about experience because I did that. Okay. And
Yeah.
so with this person, she actually went through the process. She was super cool though. Okay. She was probably like in her mid 20s. She has two kids. She's a waitress at Chili. And the funny thing about this, basically, originally when she told me she got life insurance, right? She actually got a quote. Okay. She actually got
Okay.
a quote from her auto insurance company. Right. Now, fast forward, it took us literally till January to get the policy issue. Okay. Mid November for us to go ahead and do the application. She had to do labs and all that good stuff. And then when I finally got paid in mid January, I was like, okay, cool. Let me take this $200 and actually reinvest in the leads. And that's what I did. Okay. And at that time, our IMO had a special going on, which is like a buy buy one get one free, right? Everything was half off, and that's what I did. I bought fresh leads, right? At that point, and then all of a sudden, that switch just started hitting. That switch just started like, start kicking in, and I was converting, not at high rate. I was converting from every 25 leads we're getting, I was converting like one to three, one to three. Okay.
Okay.
And they were all like final expense leads. So nothing sexy, nothing like we're talking like no 200, no $300. We're talking about like, 50, 60, 70,
Yeah, just quick ones.
125. Yeah. But the fact that we're doing instant issue policy, guess what? It allows me to go ahead and make money, reinvest it, make money, reinvest it. Okay. And the thing about this business, guys, especially if you're doing leads, is the fact that, the more leads you have, just like baseball, the more at bats you have, the better chance of you getting on base. You don't have to hit a home run every single time. We got to get you on base, right? And that's what we did. We just bought leads over and over and over again. And then, we're cranking it out. We're doing pretty well, in that first 60 to 90 days after that first initial sale, and things were doing good. Of course, here's the thing, okay? There's always learning lessons every step of the way, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
of course, we ran into some chargeback issue afterwards. It wasn't anything wrong with the leads. It's basically how you sell. Okay. And so how you present it. And so basically there were some things we had to just tweak out to actually make sure that we're having stuff stick on the book. That was it.
I actually want you, can you just take a second? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a good point, and I appreciate you because agents might be like, okay, I listen to everything you said, but can you, for that agent who may be in that situation, can you talk about what that pivot was for you and your team, or the people that were running leads? Can you explain kind of how you overcame that?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to chargebacks, always going to happen in this industry. Okay. No matter what, right? I never met someone who has 100% persistency unless it's like their first day. Right. But
Right.
most people, if you're a pretty good like salesperson and you're doing the right thing, you have like a 90% persistency. Okay, which is great. Okay.
Mhm.
And so my thing was I was like, hey, tell them, hey, we could get you pre-qualify. Worry about, submitting, putting any money out with application until like, you know, uh, down the road and so forth. Right. And so which came back and bite me in the butt with some of these people. Okay. You got to confirm that they actually want it. Okay. Because at the end of the day, a lot of them, the most common objection you're going to get when it comes to leads is, I got to think about it. Okay. I got to think about it. Right. If they got to think about it, you got to confirm this is something they even want to have. Right.
Mm.
If it's something they want to have, then yes. Okay. Move forward with it. Do what you can. If money's an issue right in a spot, then hey, you know what? Push it back further if you need to. Okay, within that 30 limit. Okay, but do not jeopardize your license. Do not jeopardize the integrity of your company. Do not jeopardize your persistency for someone who's just like is really wishy washy. Okay, you got to determine if this. You got to have that deep conversation with them, and if it's something that they want to have, that they really want to make sure the family's protected, then feel comfortable giving the permission to get them moving forward at that point, right? Remember,
Right.
you're in the driver's seat, right? A lot of people don't realize it, but it's not the client that determines if they get approved or if they're going to get a policy. You, the agent, or the person driving the sale. Okay, and if you're driving that sale, make sure this is something that's going to stick with you, not for the upfront, but also in the long term. Okay, because persistency is very important. So again, just confirm if this is something they want to have. If they do want to have it, then go through the application. And if it's just some money issue, then go ahead and basically figure out when's a good time for them to draft it, right? And here's a follow up to this, okay? Let's say you know what, Trey, you sold policies to to a lady, and she can't draft it right now. It has to be next month, 30 days from now, on the first, right? Every week, what I would do, right, learning what I learned now is basically the fact that remind them, right? Remind them a week before, remind them 2 weeks before, remind them the day before, remind them as well. Because that way they know, right, that this is going to be taken out. That way there'll be no surprises, but also at the exact same time, you're having that constant communication with them. And we have constant communication with someone, the chance of that policy getting replaced is very slim at that point.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like that. I appreciate you for breaking that down because that is something that is super important for agents who are super afraid of chargebacks, but also need to understand that it's a part of the process. We don't want a lot, right? We want that 90%, but we are going to have some. So like, don't panic. Don't be worried.
Yeah.
It's just a part of it. Okay, so fast forward, Chew's being very modest, guys. He does really well. And even before we met, he was crushing it. But I want to quickly talk about lead types. So you mentioned final expense. Can you explain, I guess, your journey from final expense to mortgage if you do IUL? Can you just talk about your perspective on the different lead types and your experiences with those lead types?
Yeah. And guys, here's the key thing. Okay. When it comes to lead type, you got to find the one that works for you. Okay.
Hmm.
You can make $1 million a year doing IULs. You can make $1 million a year doing annuities. You can make $1 million a year doing final expense, whatever, right? You got to find what you like the most and stick with it, right? And then if there's something else that comes along and you're like, hey, this is other people are doing well with it, I don't recommend you come stop what you're doing to focus on that. A lot of people done that mistake. I'm guilty of that. Okay. And so what I recommend is sprinkle some of that in until you get the hang of it and it's something that you really enjoy, then you could go full and board on that type of lead type at that point. Okay. But I started like a lot of people more like, final expense and general life insurance. Okay. Which is great. Okay. Which is great. But then, I ran into, so I started realizing, especially when it comes to final expense audience, and this is nothing wrong with them. It's just basically just how it is. Okay, guys. Some of them are not technically savvy, right? And so we're
Yep.
in a day where basically like you could do an application with text. Okay. And some of them can't go on to click on the link to sign an application, or they don't know how to work their phone, or I even ran into some people who still have a flip phone, so, that happens. Okay, guys. So, when it comes to transitioning more to like, and then also like basically like just charge back, right? Final expense, you tend to have a little more higher chargeback ratio. The reason why is because the fact that, again, a lot of them are on fixed income. Okay.
Mhm.
And again, nothing wrong with that. It's just, you got to understand the demographic and you got to just work your way around it. Okay. And so, and I was doing decently well with the, final expense leads and so forth. I was making about, ten to $20,000 a month. And then when I heard about mortgage protection and our lead, we don't have a mortgage protection lead source right now at my IMO. And that's when I got introduced to you, Trey. And I was like, you know what? I really want to do this because I hear some really cool things about it. Okay. And so again, I made the mistake of jumping all in the beginning, right? Which is a learning experience. I'm just that type of person. But at the end of the day, guess what? It accelerated my growth. Okay. And now we're doing pretty well with mortgage protection.
Yeah. Can you talk about the difference and I guess that learning curve you had to go to
Mm-hmm.
from final expense to mortgage? Because I get a lot of agents. I preach mortgage all the time. That's what I sold as an agent. You obviously know one of my good friends, AJ, and
Mm-hmm.
we've built, agencies and scale agencies on mortgage protection. And we just like it for, you can sell kind of variety. But can you talk about your experience transitioning from final expense to mortgage? Like, was it difficult? Was it easy? Closing people, etc. Because that's a question I get all the time.
Yeah, I feel like, and again, this is just me personally, okay. I feel like mortgage protection, there's more logic to it. It's not just an emotional sale, it's also a logical sale as well. Okay.
Hmm.
So what do I mean by that? The the numbers has to kind of make sense to what they're trying to get accomplished. Okay. We're not just leaving money behind. We're talking about, hey, with this allow my family to go ahead and pay off that mortgage, or pay that for him to live in that house for like 2 3 years, or what the case is. Okay. So there's that logical aspect of things where it kind of just have to make sense. If it doesn't make sense to them, then it just doesn't make sense to them. Okay. Which is fine. Okay. Your job, guys, is not to try to close everyone. Okay. Your job is basically is find the people who's willing to that's willing to go through your process. Okay. Which I think is a mistake a lot of us try to do, because think about this, right? When you walk into a Mercedes dealership, the transaction or the experience is different than you going to like I don't know, a Honda dealership, right? And
Hmm.
so same thing. When you take someone through a mortgage protection experience, it's going to be a different experience than you taking through a final expense. Okay. I'm actually more logical based. I'm asking if the spouse is not there, and if she's an important decision maker, right? I'll schedule a time to go ahead and basically have her on as well, right? Or, just like if there's more in depth things that we need to talk about and so forth, then I try to basically, figure that out as well, right? And the cool thing about mortgage protections basically is it could lead to multiple things as well. Like for example, we did a mortgage protection sale the other day, and this is and we actually ended up rolling over $100,000 from her retirement account, from her 401k
Mhm.
account.
Yep. Yep.
By no expense, ain't gonna happen. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? So, you could find a lot more things out of mortgage protection. Okay. And here's the key thing, right? Mortgage protection gives you the avenue, that opening. I spoke with someone who he ended up not doing anything just because of the fact that it was just he felt like he didn't need it, whatever the case is, right? But this guy had a $7 million in assets. Okay, liquid asset, by the way, right? I tried prying out what type of assets he had, but he didn't tell me, right? But it shows you the fact that the type of customer you're getting is basically the type of clientele that are walking in to your door, to your store, or tend to be higher end. Okay. And so far I have never had an issue with a mortgage protection person lead who has technical issue. They know how to work, Zoom, or they know how to hop on, go on their email and click on the application, e-sign it, or through text sign, or whatever the cases. We have never ran to that issue so far. Okay. So
Yeah. No, and I think that's 100% spot on. You touched on a few things that I think are super important for people to understand. Number one is that the demographic for mortgage protection is just different. It's not the same. It's not that there's anything wrong with filing expense or even IUL. It's the fact of this is the ideal demographic for anybody. Homeowners, typically married, they
mhm,
have income, and then you said it, is they have one pain point, but they have tons of others. That's just the entryway you go through. Hey, you have a
mhm,
mortgage or an asset you want to cover? Oh, what else do you have? Anything that acts like life insurance? Okay, do you have a final? So now you're closing people on higher premiums simply because they have more things that you can attach actual value. And if something happens to them, which is not a lie, and it makes a better client, and then it's also very logical. It's not, it's like, hey, man, if you pass, you're going to lose this much of supplemental income. Your mortgage payment is this, and you don't have anything to take care of your family in the event that you pass in terms of like cremation or burial. It's like you can't really get off the phone without getting something. You got to get so even the lowest end is just like a whole life plan for 20 or 30,000, and that's 150, $200 a month in premium. And people wonder why people like mortgage protections because you can kind of sell anything. It's really on your skill set, which is what you were talking about. But to transition, I kind of want to talk about leads and calling. So, what is your process? I like, you're doing, for those that don't know, he's doing the drip leads. So, he's set up on a subscription where leads just come in, right? But I want to know, like, you wake up in the morning, you've gotten 3 leads overnight or whatever, since you went out to eat with, the fam, whatever. And you wake up and you got 3 or 4 leads and the leads are coming through to the day. Like, do you call them right when they come in? Are you, having a VA call? I guess just walk us through your, like, what is your process with the leads? How do you work, in terms of what we have set up for you right now?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. So my thing is basically is like, I've been taught speed of lead, right? Speed of lead. So the sooner you can get to that lead, the higher chance of you converting them. Okay. And it doesn't mean you have to sell them right there on the spot. You might have to schedule a second appointment that same day, right? But my process basically is if they're coming in and I'm available right there, I'm reaching out to them. I'm reaching out to them. If they're coming overnight, I wake up at about 5:30 my time Pacific, right? I try to get them a call about 6 o'clock. Okay. And the reason why I try to get them a call at 6 o'clock because at 6:30, I'm getting the kids ready at that point. Right.
Right,
So guys, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. So I got a bunch of things going on in my life, right? And you guys do too.
right,
Okay.
right,
And so it's okay to go ahead and be busy, but you got to be busy also working your business at the same time. Okay. Because if this is your full-time business, you have no other source of avenue, you're investing money into leads to help it to get a return out of it. You got to find a way to make it work no matter what. Okay. And I try to be structured by my day. Okay. So my thing is first thing is basically is reach out to my newest leads and then also but the leads that I engage with. Okay. So what I mean
Mhm.
by engage with, basically leads who respond back to a text, right? Leads who call me back, right? Lead who I talked to maybe a few days ago, or whatever the case is. I guess my highest intent type of people immediately. I try to get them in the beginning of the day, right? And then throughout the day, call my old leads, right? Call my old leads, okay? Because at the end of the day, leads don't die. Okay, leads are. I mean, they do die, but they never get old. Does that make sense?
Right. That's true.
Now, they, of course, if they're telling you to go ahead and remove their number or so forth, be respectful and whatnot. But at the end of the day, just be aware that if they're saying no right now, it just means that it's not never. It's just now's not the right time. And the number one thing I learned about working with leads is timing, dude. Trey, as you understand that, right? It could not be the right time for them today, but maybe 2 months from now, it'd be the right time. A week from now, it's the right time, right? A year from now is the right time. Literally, I remember closing somebody. It was funny because I remember it was a dial room, right? We did a training and afterwards we're calling, right? And everybody heard me. Like I was on main stage and everyone was hearing me. I was taking this guy through the process. I was about to close him and he didn't want to give me his social security number. Okay. And I call him a month later, right? Treat it as a new interaction. This guy was like, oh, I already got life insurance. I was, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. He hung up. Okay. Call him a month afterwards, same thing. I already got life insurance. I call him like I think it was like maybe back in October. Oh yeah, man, I've been waiting for someone to give me a call.
That's crazy. I believe it though.
Yeah. And so we ended up basically closing him. And it's funny because he gave me the exact same objection. I don't want to give my social security number. Okay. And of course I overcame it that time and we got him set up and everything. Right. But again, timing is everything. Right. Just like everyone's busy, right? If you go and put your name into like a website, you're looking for, let's say, windshield wiper, right? You may not have the time because of your busy schedule, right? But eventually, if someone's more, it's all about who's going to get to that person at that right time. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's okay, right? If it's not you right then, right? Follow up with them. Eventually, you'll find out that is either you're going to be the right person or someone else going to sell that to that person. Okay. And then what I try to do is basically is again, work your news leads first, work your old leads afterwards. But I try to basically contact them anywhere from, 12 to 15 times before I quote unquote give up on a lead. Okay. And when I give them up, I just gave them to like one of my other agents so that way they can work them. That's it.
And then they treat it like a fresh lead.
And they treat it like a fresh leads. Exactly.
That's that's beautiful. That was fundamentally beautiful because you touched on so many things you said something that probably went over people's heads. You basically said, "Oh, I didn't close it." And then you re-engage with them a month later as if it was a brand new lead. So many agents will be like, "Oh, this is a dead lead." They mark it red on their sheet or do whatever in their CRM. They never call it again. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's another agent who comes in, buys that lead or works that lead, or that person fills out another form 30, 60, 90 days later, and they make a sale. And it's like, nothing special. You just gave up on the lead. The other person, they kept working it. I have a question. When you do
Mm-hmm.
your script, we can get into the fresh one and we don't have to go like too in depth where you explain every word.
Mm-hmm.
But my first question is, do you treat age leads and fresh leads the same when you call, or do you call with like a different frame or intro?
I do a different intro, right? Because I mean, I learned this from a sales trainer. They say basically the fact that it is two different things. You have to be aware of it. Again, this is everyone has their own perspective about it. Do what you want to. If it's working for you, do what's working for you. But the way I introduce an old lead to a fresh lead basically is if it's a new lead, I go straight into a confirmation right away, right? Hey Trey, I got your information. You're looking for information for final expense or mortgage protection. I have your age as 45 years of age, and I go right into it at that point. Okay.
Right.
If it's an age lead, hey Trey, this is just Chew. Hey, I don't know what happened, but I guess our system never updated. It looked like you put a request to get some information for mortgage protection a few months ago. Did you ever got that taken care of, or are you already got? Are you still looking for something? Okay.
Right.
And the reason why I give this two options is because if they already tell me I got it taken care of, I already know how to handle that objection. Okay. And
Yep.
then if they say I'm looking for something, I'm still looking. Okay, perfect. Then I could treat it as a fresh interaction at that point. Okay.
I like
Well,
that.
I know which rabbit hole I'm going to go into. Okay.
Right. Right.
Now,
So
of
your
course.
intro,
Huh?
dang, okay. I like that. So your intro, it's like branches. Your intro automatically tells you which direction to go. Like, okay, they say this, I already got it taken care of. You know exactly where this conversation is about to go, and it has its
Yeah.
own set of objections and of things you need
Mhm.
to overcome. If
Yep.
they say they never got taken care of, then you literally just recalibrate and treat it like it's a brand new.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. I like that. Okay. Okay. So my question is, let's walk through. You can go step by step, but just you can explain it conceptually. What is your sales process? Like, do you go, let's say the person says, yeah, that's me to my age. Like, I'm assuming you confirm some information. Do you go into questions and build value? I guess walk us through like conceptually your framework all the way to the close in terms of, communicating with clients.
Yeah, so the way I like to do it, right? I'm not like, again, everybody has their own style. I'm not like a juggler type of person, right? I'm not gonna go straight to a juggler. I'm trying to, yeah, I'm trying to build, understand them and build value. Okay, understand them, build value. Okay, I found that that's kind of my style, and it's been working. I tried switching over to different style, and it just didn't really work for me. Okay, and so if they say, hey, yeah, that's me, and so forth, I ask them, hey, you know what? So what I could do, and this is setting the frame. Okay, so Trey, my job today is basically go ahead and find out if there's anything we could do to help you out. If there is, right, if there's some possible gap, and we talk about looking at some steps to actually make sure we could help you out in the first place. Does that sound good to you? You're gonna say yes. Okay, I'm asking for permission. I'm getting agreement right there in the spot. Okay, and as soon as they say yes to that, I go straight to the medical questions. Right? If it's mortgage
Mhm.
protection, I'm going to mortgage question first. Okay. The reason why I go to mortgage protection is because that way, because their mindset the entire time is like they're trying to protect the house. So I want to get that down because and treat it almost like an actor interaction to protect the house. Okay, not to protect their life, but to protect their house. Okay, and then I frame it back if it's mortgage protection, saying, "Hey," and just to let you know, Trey, mortgage protection is life insurance. Okay, it's designed to make sure that in case anything happens to you, that it pays out for your family. Go ahead and either make payments towards a house or basically cover the entire house. Okay, and I'm gonna say okay, but now they understand that this is life insurance because there's a lot of time people, we call people for mortgage protection. They're like, oh, I didn't know this was life insurance, or they think it's like PMI, private mortgage insurance.
Yep.
So we
Yep.
got to take a step back and help shift their focus into what this really is. And from doing that little framework, it has really made my job a lot easier. Okay.
Right.
And now we, from that point on, go into medical questions about their health. And then from medical questions, then really understanding who they're trying to protect. Okay. Hey, Trey, let me ask you, in case anything happens to you, who's going to be stuck with the house payment, right? Or who's going to be inheriting the house? Okay. They're going to tell me who it is. And I ask a very important question. Walk me through this. Okay, Trey, if you're no longer here, what is Melissa going to do with the house? Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, she's going to stay in it. Oh, she's going to sell it, right? Trey, let me ask you, if you're no longer here, can she make the house payment by herself? What does that look like? Okay. We got to understand the why. Okay. What's the reason? Okay. And they say, hey, yeah, they could make the payment by themselves. They don't need this, right? And that's when I give them a little pushback. So why are you doing this? Okay.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
here's the thing, okay? It's called an identity frame, okay, guys? So we're basically re-solidifying why they want to get this done. Why do you need to do this? Because I don't want them to be stuck with the house. Why, if I could do something about it, right? Or the payment of the house, if I could do something about it. No, why? What's the purpose of this really? Okay, we're pushing them away for them to come back towards us. Okay, and then from there, ask them what we call a rationale question. Hey, besides doing this, like besides looking at this, why not like maybe pay more towards a house? Okay, why not just put more towards your savings? Okay, and the reason why I asked that question is the fact that is because to really understand the reasoning. Okay, because if you guys have not worked mortgage protection leads, right? One common objection you might get at the end is like, well, why don't I just pay more for the house at the end, right? What
Yep.
this does is basically it gets rid of that objection. Okay, because now they're gonna again, here's something I've been taught, right? Whatever I say, they're gonna defend it. But whatever they say, they're gonna own it. They're telling themselves, well, the reason why I don't want to go ahead and just make more payments on his house is because if I pass away tomorrow, she's gonna lose the house anyways, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And so from there, basically, is just help doing like future pacing, getting them to understand what it looks like if they're no longer here, and their spouse could live in the house or the house be paid off, they're no longer here, and just asking what calls a consequence question, right? Because I think a lot of times we're just future pacing, which is sounding good, but we also got to paint the picture of what's happening if if they're no longer here and they didn't do anything in place. Because as Tony Robbins says, right, people will run towards either pain or pleasure, but
Mhm.
99% of the time they're running away from pain.
Yep.
So we're trying to basically put that pain point and let them know, hey, if there's no action being taken place, this is exactly what's going to happen. And they're going to move away from that pain by getting a policy in place so that way that does not happen to their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. And I think you touched on something that like I think the majority of agents in general, but definitely for mortgage protection, you probably know this, people come in and they think mortgage, I just got to sell term. I just got to sell term. And I know
Mhm.
I've seen you sell, I know I've seen your numbers. There's a lot more whole life equity protection most of the time. And honestly, if you really think about it, that's why I tell agents, I'm like, that's actually probably a better move because if they don't pass, right? And you get them a term and they pay all this money, $150, $200 towards a term policy, and they don't pass. When they're 75, 80, even 85, if they're still around, guess what they have to go turn around and do? Get a life insurance policy,
Yep.
whole life plan at 85 for 15, 20,000. And now you're looking at another three, $400. And some of them might not even be able to get approved for that because it might be guaranteed issue. There's tons of
Mhm.
other things that go with it. So I appreciate you touching on the why because it is not, you said it earlier, it's a logical sale. And if you don't use the logic and paint the picture of like, well, what does it look like when, Melissa's not here? It's like, well, I have to do this, I have to do this. And then you said another thing, which is you avoid the objection by making them say what they don't want. So when they come back and say it to you, it's like, well, just I'm a little confused on what you said earlier, John, because earlier you said that, you don't want to continue to, right? And people they don't want to lie to themselves. Like they can lie to you, but it's like if they said it out loud, that's just a bad look. And they struggle with it. So then now you've kind of put them in a situation where, they have to do that. Quick question, I just side note, and we can I'll ask one more after this.
Mhm.
The social security objection, can you explain what was the difference between that older lead and then the newer? Like what did you say to overcome that person? I'm just intrigued to know.
It's funny, man, because it was like I think you could sell more by talking less. Okay.
Mm,
You sell
okay.
more by talking less. So I think the previous time I asked him, so what's your social I framed it, but I asked him and he gave me like the objection. Oh man, I don't want to get my social security. I can't trust you. And I was just talking. I think I was just talking too much, right? As this time, he gave me the exact same objection. I said, no, I get it, but hey, you know what? When it comes to all life insurance application, we're always gonna need a social security number to verify who you are, your medical record as well. And I just shut up. And he was like, okay. And he just gave it to me at that point. And so here's something I do. Okay. So if you guys have never heard of this called crank wheel, okay, crank wheel, CRANKWHEEL, right? What you could do is basically send them a link and they can actually see your screen. Okay. And I say probably like my beginning of last year to maybe about fall, I used a lot of crank wheel to help me overcome objection when it comes to social and banking. Okay. I know with mortgage protection, I don't have to use that. Okay, guys. Like I don't have, I just asked them like, hey, do you want to see my screen as I go through the application, or do you want me to go ahead and just do it all over the phone? 9 out of 10 they just say do it all over the phone. I trust you. Literally. Okay.
That's a wonderful question for anybody that's listening and is running into issues. Just please rewind that and listen to what he said, because that frame right there is perfect. Because then if you get objections, like, well, you told me that you want it, but keep going, keep going.
Exactly. Yeah. No, no, you're good. And so like literally like, I mean, crank will let them see your screen and so forth. But again, like when they say I trust you, just go through application, you go through application, it's so smooth. Okay. Because you have to trust it in a day. And when it comes to sales, it's all about not just about you being an expert because that's how they buy you, that's how you get them in the beginning, but that trust is a big factor for them moving forward with you at the end. Yeah.
Mhm.
But that was it, man. It was like I guess it was just maybe more of a confident thing. Again, I just talked less the second time, and I was able to go ahead and get his social security at that point.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Well, I know I've been taking up a lot of time, but I want to
You're
kind of
good,
wrap
man.
up with this. Can you talk a little bit about your experience working with us, the team, the community? Because a lot of people come and they're like, hey, what is it like working with Agent Lead Lab? So in your experience, what has it been, working with us, or how's that
Yeah.
experience been thus far?
So here's one thing. I share this with everybody. Everyone expects when you get a lead source, they're like, oh man, I'm gonna convert like 99% of all my lead source. Okay, from the lead source. That's not the case. Okay. every lead source, you're gonna have goods and bads. Okay. So far, Trey has been really good. That's why I've been sticking with him. Okay, guys. And so, one key thing I like to say is basically the fact that communication is key, right? Trey. One thing I love about Trey is the fact that he says hi to everybody on Discord. He likes everyone who posts stuff on there, like maybe a sale or just a message and so forth. Like he's always on there, basically, communicating and raising everybody's and praising everybody and so forth. His assistants and VAs and his staffs are amazing guys, right? They communicate. When you have questions, you ask them, they get back to you. Okay. Like literally, I remember Faith, like when I have questions about how do I set up this or how to do that, she gets back to me literally within 5 minutes, right? And so she's super cool. Okay. And the fact that they're giving you metrics on like, hey, how you're performing, on a week to week base, which I think is very, very key. Okay. But also at the exact same time, what you got to also be responsible for the results you get. Okay. Trey's job is basically to get you the leads, right? Trey's job is he knows how to get really good leads and so forth. Now it's just up to you to convert it. Okay. If you're missing the skill, then you got to invest the time to learn how to sell. Okay. Which here's the reality of things, right? Most people, they just don't do, right? Because they give themselves an excuse. It's too expensive for me to go ahead and buy a sales course or go through a sales course, or the case is. Whereas, you have to realize basically is what is that costing you in return by actually not going through it. Okay. However, when it comes to leads, you know what? The more leads you have, the better the result you're going to get as well. Okay. So, I mean, I invest literally about, $500 a week with you guys and so forth. My results been good. I'm looking to go ahead and get that to, 2 to 3 times as much as possible this year. So that way we can actually get better result as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I appreciate you sharing that, man. We try to pride ourselves on communication. That's one of our pillars. We only got two pillars in my company is communication and execution. Because I feel like if you got those two, you let people know what's going on and you do your job well, everything else will always take care of itself, especially when it comes to clients. But yeah, man, I like to end with this. My last question always,
Mhm.
and the floor is yours. If you were talking to a new agent who was starting with us at Agent Lead Lab, or was like, hey, I'm looking to get tip my, put my put my toe in it, my bad. And they're getting started. Like, what would you say to them? It's kind of like newer agent or even a seasoned agent who's like, hey, I want to work with Trey. I want to work with the team at Lead Lab. What should their expectations be and what does that look like? And you can wrap up with anything else that you want to say as well.
I'll say basically is you know what, treat it seriously, okay? Because I think a lot of times, rather season or because season agent, the thing about season agent, they're like, oh man, I've done leads before, I got on this lead source before, right? Or new agents, they're like, oh, it's leads, it's leads. I'll buy some, I'll make a few calls, but the reality is basically you gotta take every lead seriously, right? Call them, try to get as much results as possible. Trey and the staff, the leads, again, the leads that they're getting for us is basically is like they're high intent type of people. Okay. There's a reason why when they say they saw the ad on Facebook or Instagram, they went on and click on it and they found their information, right? There's a big reason why. Okay. Now it's basically up to you to go ahead and convert that into a sale, right? And at the exact same time, as you're taking this seriously, realize the fact that every interaction is going to be a new interaction. Every this is a human interaction, to say the least. Okay. And so can things go right? Yes. Can things go wrong? Yes. Okay. But if you're doing this and you're taking it seriously, your results are going to start piling for you. Okay. One thing I will say this is something that's really changed my mindset the last probably like 90 days. And I think it's been helping me a lot when it comes to getting results. Is that you got to step into the person that you ready. Let's say, for example, you're like, hey, I want to make $10,000 today. Okay. You have to wake up being that person. You have to step into that person, not pretending to be, or like what I say was it fake it till you make it. You actually will have to wake up being that person, right, before the day even begin to actually get that $10,000 result in a day. Okay.
Yeah.
And Trey and the staff and all that and the team, they're here to help you guys. Okay. They're here to help you guys. Right. And so, confirm who you want to be that day, who you want to be when you a year from now and go out there and just work, guys. Just work.
Yeah. No, well said. I appreciate you for, finishing up and taking the floor there. And yeah, thank you for hopping on. Guys, if you're watching this video and you got to the end, first of all, we appreciate your time. But secondly, if you are interested in like the way that she was speaking today and you might be interested in potentially working with them, just go to our website. You can, fill out the contact us or reach out to somebody who you know from our organization, and we'll always, introduce you if he's open. I'm sure he's growing his team and building as well. So yeah, I really appreciate your time and really take heed to what he said, guys. Like the biggest thing is he talked about mindset a lot. He also talked about being willing and understanding that, success is not guaranteed, but also you will have times when things don't go well. Like he reiterated on that. And I think that's important because he's being honest about the process. He came from not working leads in his background. So he had to learn. It wasn't like he just brought up on leads. And there's a lot of agents who are coming from that background, not to be scared, not to be, worried. Just know that there is a reality you will have to learn. And if you can accept that, you can get to the point where, you're constantly investing in yourself, where like literally he got set up 4 months ago and he hasn't, he like just goes off and makes sales and we don't hear from him, but it's a good thing, right? Like it's just consistent for him and he's found a way to develop a system for himself. And I think that that's where, you really want to get to when you have confidence in the people that you're working with. So I appreciate you for hopping on today, brother. And for those that are watching, we appreciate you for your time. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
No problem, Trey. Yeah, you have a good one.